Very good. Yeah. So the European Union's Stability and Growth Pact, this was to do with fiscal policy and aimed at those nations who were members of and using the euro. So those in the Eurozone. And what do you think this Stability and Growth Pact did, Jaya?
Kind of set a bunch of people coming together agreeing rules to keep economic growth stable and
So it's to do with what type of policy? Fiscal or monetary? Right, so this was a fiscal policy for the Eurozone, and it set limits on what? What do you think it would set limits on? Spend, yeah, the size of the budget deficit, yeah. So the Stability and Growth Pact, if you are a Eurozone member, you are obligated to abide by the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact. And this limits the size of G greater than T, the budget deficit. And in memory serves, that was limited to 3% of GDP, because 3% is considered to be manageable, acceptable. Prudent, hence the term, guarantees fiscal prudence. Keep your house in order, balance the books, all of that type of thing. But why do you think, Jonathan, member nations then found this as a fiscal straitjacket?
because they couldn't use more when they needed to in order to pull the economy back up.
Was it just the UK which suffered during the Great Recession? No. Unemployment in Spain, as it is currently at the moment, particularly for 16 to 24-year-olds. And in a recession, what's one way of getting out of a recession? What could you do to the base rate?
Lower it.
You could lower it. Why can no country who uses the euro, why can they not lower the base rate?
Because they don't have their own currency.
Because they don't control it, and the base rate is controlled by,
The European Central
very good, the European Central Bank, and it's the European Central Bank which determines the base rate for every single Eurozone member. So, in that case, Jonathan, monetary policy, it's redundant. Yeah, you don't have it. Because the ECB, the European Central Bank, that will set the base rate for everybody. It's what's known as a one-size-fits-all monetary policy, which again is very, very problematic. We'll not get into why at the moment. You maybe know why already. So, if you think of an individual, the Chancellor, somebody like that, they've got three levers. They've got monetary policy and they've got supply side policy. So in effect, when you're a member of the Eurozone, the monetary policy, interest rate, that's tied behind your back. Then fiscal policy, what could you do to fiscal policy to get out of a recession?
You could make G larger than T.
You could spend lots of money on investment and infrastructure projects, so you could basically spend your way out of a recession. But why could you not when you're in the Eurozone? Because you can't have a budget deficit more than 3% of GDP. So fiscal policy then becomes redundant. Right, that one then goes as well. So you've got your monetary policy, boom, that's out. You've got your fiscal policy, very much restricted, boom, that's out. Supply side policies are extremely expensive. Well, you can't spend, boom, supply side policies are out. You are now very much in a... Right, so what's the only way that you're going to be able to make your country more competitive and get out of a recession if you're a member of the Eurozone? JM's paragraph, JM, go on. Breaking the law, eh? Saxon, 1975. Go on.
Breaking the agreement, like going out of.
Right. So several countries did do that, but we're not rule breakers here, JM. So I want you to think of another way. And the German economy did this very, very successfully in the early 1990s. So you can't use monetary policy. You can't use fiscal policy. You can't use supply side policy. Could you devalue your currency?
No, because everybody's.
Of course you couldn't. No. You can't unilaterally in Germany decide, right, the euro is worth X percent more. Can't do that. So again, that's another way of making yourself more competitive, which is out the window. So how do you make yourself more competitive?
Do something to attract investors.
No. And it's to do with the workers. What are you going to have to? And it's to do with the workers, JM.
Lowering the wage.
Right. Lower the wages, and as a consequence, lower in your economy to make you more competitive.
Minimum wage.
Lower the wages, and lower, as a consequence, you could afford to charge for your goods and services.
More
You could afford to charge for your goods and services.
taxes.
You could afford to charge your goods and services. So you're paying your people less. And the goods and services, you can do what to the price of them? You can lower the price of them. Right. So I'm so glad that we bombed out of the exchange rate mechanism all those years ago, Black Wednesday, because otherwise we would be in this very constrained system. But anyway, good knowledge there, JM, on the pros and cons of being in the Eurozone area.